in the pre-classics, the Mayans are going to be sacrificing 3 different types of people, okay? The Mayans are going to be sacrificing high priests, they're going to be sacrificing virgins, and they're going to be sacrificing ball players, all right? Now, there's a reason and a way that they sacrifice is very different. Now, in the pre-classics, when they're going to sacrifice high priests is because there's going to be 48 years of 115 to 120 inches of rain. But after that, there's going to be 7 years of 70 inches of rain, which we call the drought years, okay? So, after the 7 years of 70 inches of rain, we're going to sacrifice a high priest. The sacrifice of the high priest is to evoke the gods of rain so that it regulates the rain patterns, okay? But it's also to consolidate the belief and trust of the common agriculture society upon the decisions that are going to be taken by the elite priests, okay? And actually, the Mayans are more interested in consolidating the social position of their future descendants. Because, see, the pre-classic Mayans that set all this up realize that they have earned the trust and admiration of their society through the prediction of phenomena like solar eclipses, lunar eclipses, also with the precision of predicting agriculture and rain. So they have done this. But see, these guys don't begin reading and writing until 150 years before Christ. And these guys belong to 1000 BC. I mean 2000 BC in the highlands, but 1000 BC here. So they know that they have to pass on this very important, very specific knowledge. And they want to make sure it transcends through time and their oral tradition. So oral traditions are aided with architectural design, right? And mathematical calculations, so that it would be easier. So with the oral traditions, there's markers. For example, when the guy would stand up on that massive pyramid and look across the horizon and see that the sun was rising on the winter solstice, he knew that he had to begin preparing his people for agriculture, right? So that's what these temples do. They're astronomical markers to alert men on what activities are supposed to be taking place at certain moments, okay? So, as we're going to sacrifice this high priest as a messenger to God, I want you to realize that we're sacrificing one of the best. Not just some Joe Smo, one of the best. He's a high priest. And second of all, he needs to participate during the ceremony during the full night. Mayans believe that when one dies, it doesn't matter how good you are, you're not going to heaven. You go down into the 9 underworlds and then you ascend little by little, okay? But as a sacrificial victim, you go directly up to the 13th world of creation, yes? Now, the interesting thing is that the Mayans don't want to stress you or make you feel pain because you'll lose your way. So they'll administer a massive hallucinogen from that hallucinogenic toad that we were seeing earlier, okay? So this toad is put in the water and he secretes this milk. And then you're taking it as an enema, yes? So it goes into your small capillary blood vessels or your large intestine, which also takes us to other conclusions of the knowledge of the Mayan as far as anatomy, biology, besides of astronomy, okay? This is going to give them a 14 to 16 hour high, so they can be performing during the ceremony and not fearful of dying. It also means that the Mayans believe that they're also in communion and in contact with God when they leave, so that they don't sway off in the direction in which they're going to be taking the medicine, making the petition, right? Now, we sacrifice virgins too. We sacrifice virgins when we have these massive epidemics like cholera, dysentery, dengue, malaria, okay? And the thing is this, is in the Mayan mythology, the gods of the underworld are actually leading causes of illness and death. Because it says this god makes your temperature rise, your temperature fall, your body ache, okay, your head ache, and he's talking about malaria. This other one says this makes your temperature rise, your temperature fall, your bones ache, your head ache, and you cough up blood. He's talking about dengue. And says this other guy makes you dehydrate by making you go to the bathroom, making you unfortunately vomit and dehydrate you. He's talking about dysentery. So all these things, all these gods of the underworld are actually leading causes of illnesses, with the exception one. There is one female god in the underworld, okay? And she's called the goddess of suicide, and she's portrayed in the Codex of Dresden. She's always portrayed as a very young woman, hanging herself like this, okay? And the thing is this, when you excavate female burials, out of 10 female burials, 5 or 6 will have died in process of giving birth. Okay, the problem is Mayans are very narrow-hipped, and they have these breech babies, right? They get caught. So when they die giving forth birth, it's suicidal. To bring forth life is suicidal. Now, the interesting thing is the goddess of suicide, it comes upon our earth in the folklore of the Popol Vuh. She becomes Isim Chel, which is the goddess of fertility. Okay, as she matures, she becomes Ishin Chel, the goddess of medicine, the goddess of weaving. So she has 3 different phases through her life. Okay, now when we have epidemics of sicknesses and illnesses, who we actually need to speak to is Isim Chel, the goddess of healing. And who better than to speak a young maiden, to speak to her and steal the secrets of medicine and life. So that, therefore, through what they call vision quests or dreams, the information will be transferred on how to heal your people. Okay? So now we know why we sacrifice high priests and why we sacrifice virgins. Okay? But now we're going to find out why we sacrifice champions of ball games. Champions of ball games are sacrificed in the highlands when we have these massive earthquakes, or we're having small explosions on those volcanoes. And here in the lowlands, they're sacrificed when we have these massive hurricanes ripping out these trees. Okay, so when there's natural threats, we send a ball player, a champion, to speak to Kawak. Kawak is the earth god. Okay, so we send this man to appease Kawak. You realize that in the pre-classics, the sacrificial victims are actually messengers to God to speak for something. We want rain, we want healing, or we want the earth to be calmer. Okay, so, and they are always the best, and they have been administered hallucinogens, and they participate in the ceremony all during the night, and then early morning, as we were watching that sunrise, that would be decapitation of these sacrificial victims. Their heads would be placed on plates, and the plates would be lifted up to God and then shown to the people. Okay, because it was their sacrifice to stabilize nature. Listen. Those are Red Lord parrots. Okay, now, one thing I want to make clear to you, and that is, pre-classic Maya are 2,000 years before Christ to 100 or 250 after Christ. 250 after Christ to 900 is classic, and 900 to 1000 is post-classic. Okay, now Tikal is founded in the year 800 BC, and that's what we're sitting here in the Lost World, in the foundation of Tikal, with this massive pyramid, which I told you earlier was an astronomical commemoration center. This is Temple 49. We call the Temple 49 the Temple of the Architect, because we have a burial inside of this temple somewhere that has an architect. The reason we know it has an architect is because this man was actually buried with a stone model of the design of the Lost World. And remember, I told you that the Astronomical Commemoration Center is composed with an observation deck, which is the pyramid, and the 3 horizon markers in the east, which is the winter solstice, spring and autumn equinox, and the summer solstice.